Russ Rogers here from the 17 Law Studio, and today we're going to talk about what you want to talk about. I've had several shows on communication, but I also get a lot of questions on communication. So today I want to answer your questions, and we'll get as far as we can through them. And here are the questions. Russ, I work a lot, but I have to work a lot with my job. When I get home, my wife always seems upset with me and is never happy. I'm not sure what to do or how to make her happy. I've tried everything I know to try, and I keep coming up short. Please help. Great question. Here's the next one. Russ, no matter what we talk about, it seems to always end up in an argument. I have asked my husband to take out the garbage, and even with that little bit, he rolls his eyes and sets both of us off. I can't seem to ask him to do anything. Added to that, when he gets home, he wants to go out in the shop and work on something. How can we fix this? Here's another question. Russ, my wife and I can't seem to agree on some big topics. She likes to save money. I don't mind saving money to get a little nicer car. She wants to stay in the cheaper hotels, and I would like to stay in a nicer hotel. We're looking at buying a house, but we're so far apart on what we're willing to do that it's starting to cause issues between us. How do we get on the same page? As you can see, we have some great questions today. And while I can teach all week on these topics, I really like answering your questions because then I know that I'm specifically helping you. So let's go with the first question. Russ, I work a lot, but I have to work a lot with my job. And when I get home, my wife always seems upset with me and never is happy. I'm not sure what to do or how to make her happy. I've tried everything I know and I keep coming up short. Please help. I love this question. As always, I really don't have all the facts. I don't know if she works too. I don't know why he's upset, why he works all the time. I do know why she's upset. Well, sir, the reason she's upset is because you're working all the time. It's most likely not too much deeper than that, but let me tell you the real reason she's mad at you and you're working all the time. Number one, she does not feel loved by you. You probably dated her, spent every waking moment with her, bought her candy, flowers, and if you weren't in the bathroom, you were probably trying to figure out how to spend more time with her. You guys were in love, life was grand. And then you got into your career, and now all your time in your new marriage is with your job. And I know your first thoughts are, well, I have to work. I have to prove myself. I have to future to think about, right? Well, all that's true, but not nearly as important. So let me share two quick thoughts. First is that most women have a love language that is quality time. Again, I have a whole other show on this, and there's an entire chapter on this very topic in one of my books, The 17 Laws of Marriage. So check that out. But anyway, I married a quality time girl. This means I could buy her a new car, a new house, new clothes, and while she would appreciate the stuff and would obviously be grateful, she wouldn't feel loved for very long. If I gave her whatever but didn't spend time with her, we're going to have problems. So in your case, you're doing a great job of providing for your family, but you have to figure out a way to spend time with your wife. I don't want you to do a whole nother. I don't want to do a whole nother show just on one question because I could. So please go back and look at the show on communication that deals with this for the entire show. Your marriage may depend on it. Anyway, some things you could do is come home early sometimes. Plan a date night. Plan date nights so she knows which nights those will be. If you have small children, find a babysitter for a night or two of that week. And if you have no money, find someone who will keep the kids at your house and have a date night at your house. Or, have them keep the kids at their house and you have a date at your house. Go out for coffee. Meet her for lunch. Plan some coffee time before you go to work. Plan a date night every week. Keep in mind, not every night has to be a date. When we have a house full of people, sometimes Tracy and I will get out and ride around town for a visit, maybe for 10 or 15, 20 minutes. We may stop by for a cup of coffee or go for a walk or something. If I am in town, it's seldom, if ever, if we go more than 24 hours without spending some time with Tracy. The only time it doesn't happen is if I'm not in town. We do have date night every week. Nothing trumps date night. And I promise you that if you don't make some adjustments, it's not going to get better. You think by providing her a house and some food that you've done your part. Well, you haven't. Here's the good news. This is easily fixable, and you will find out, like me, that the more time you spend with Tracy, the more time that I spend with Tracy, the more I want to spend time with her. At the end of my career, I know one of the things that I will be most proud of is that I spent a lot of time with Tracy, and she was a priority in my life. It won't be my career. Seriously, check out the show on communication. That'll help more than ever. Okay, to the next question. Russ, no matter what we talk about, it seems to always end up in an argument. I ask my husband to take out the garbage, and even with that little bit, he rolls his eyes, and I see where this is going. And I can't even ask him to do anything. And then he comes on, he wants to go out in the shop and work on something. I get this. Well, since you are the wife asking me this, I can share with you what you can do. For starters, if asking him to take out the garbage turns into an argument, I would suggest stop asking him to take out the garbage. That seems obvious, I know, but you know, by asking him to do something that's going to go bad, well, I would stop doing that. He probably goes to his shop because it's peaceful out in the shop. There's no arguing out there. That's why he's out there. If your husband had asked me this question, which he didn't, but if he did, I would say, hey, take out the dang garbage. Why are you arguing over that? You think going to your shop and avoiding the problem will fix the problem or make the problem go away? Well, you live in unicorn world. As always, I don't have all the facts, but what I do see is that this marriage is not healthy, and over time, if this continues, the marriage stands a chance of being a miserable marriage at best, and it won't last at worst. Since I don't have all the facts, how about I take a guess what's really happening based on my experiences with similar situations? I may miss the mark, but since I don't have all the facts or all the details, I'll go with what I've seen way too many times. And here we go. I wrote an entire chapter in my book, The 17 Laws of Marriage, and it's called The Law of the Circle of Death. And I think it's this circle of death that is causing most of the rift in this relationship. This is where he doesn't treat you well, which is why you sent the question in, and really doesn't show you any love. In response, you don't show him any respect. Because he doesn't get any respect, he doesn't show you any love. And this circle of death keeps going until someone calls a timeout. In your case, you have to stay on him to do something. He doesn't feel respected, so he doesn't show love to you. Since you don't get any love, you're not showing him any respect, and he goes and hides in his shop. Since he's hiding in his shop, okay, you get the idea. It's just one big circle. And this will go on forever until someone does an etching sketch. That's what I call it, an etching sketch. You may be too young to know what an etching sketch is. Well, it's a toy about the size of an iPad, and it has two little knobs at the bottom, and it had some magnetic stuff on the screen where you could use the knobs and you could draw little pictures, mainly squares and things. And about all I could ever draw was maybe stairs. But some folks got really good to where they even have contests. But no matter what you put on there, when you wanted to start over, you could just shake it and it would all disappear. There would be no evidence of anything you had drawn. All was completely vanished. That's why you guys are in this circle of death. Someone needs to do an etching sketch. Someone needs to swallow the pride, set aside their ego, go to the other one, apologize for whatever it is you need to apologize for, whether you think you should or shouldn't, or they should or they should, whatever, and stop this circle of nonsense. This really is a big deal in every marriage. It happens in every marriage at some point in time. And here's some news for you. This is such a big deal that it made its way to the best-selling book of all times, the Bible. Paul writes that husbands, you need to love your wife, and then turns around and tells women you need to respect your husband. And hey, I get it. Husbands also like to feel loved, and of course, we all need to respect our wife. However, it's paramount that women respect their husband, and it's paramount that the husband love their wives and show it. And if you're watching some professional sport, you may see a guy say, he disrespected me. You won't ever see a guy on TV and say, well, he just wasn't showing me any love. No, that doesn't happen. Did you know that the number one buyer of romance novels is women? So there's something to this love and respect. And there were so many times in our marriage where I knew I was right and Tracy knew she was right. During those times, I thought she was the one who started the argument and she was convinced that it was me. Early on in our marriage, this might last a little longer than it does now, but it never lasted for days. Now we recognize that there are very few issues, if any, that weren't a wedge in our relationship. Whatever we're arguing about isn't worth us staying mad over. We know that in 5 days, this will never even matter. Heck, in 5 hours or even 5 minutes, it won't matter. So why put ourselves through this painful argument, create hurt feelings, all because we're too prideful and our ego is so big we don't want to get our feelings hurt. Well, now if something happens, which is sort of ironic that it actually did happen while getting ready for this show, both of us are quick to stop the circle of death. In the case of this question, get over yourself. It's not worth it. Heck, on the garbage situation, if it meant Tracy had to take out the garbage for the rest of her life to keep our relationship intact, well, she would do that in a heartbeat. And I hope this helps. So let's go to the next question. Russ, my wife and I can't seem to agree on big topics. She likes to save money. I don't mind getting a little nicer car. She wants to stay in a cheaper hotels. I like the nicer ones. We're looking at buying a house and we're so far apart. So they're basically saying they are so far off on the same page on finances. It's not even funny. So I appreciate that question. And for the rest of you who send in questions, the more details, the better. Like with this question, I'm wondering if both work outside the home, and I'm wondering if one has been frugal for frugal's sake, or if they have plenty of money, or is money an issue, which is why the wife wants to save money. I have no idea. So I'm just going to assume that this couple is like most couples on the planet and that money is an issue. I see two things here that I think maybe could help. First, you need to be on a budget. My definition of budget is that you spend all your money on paper before you deposit it in the bank account. Stay with me because this may not sound like the answer to the problem, but I promise you it is. I also want to help you if you're not on a budget as well. Most people, most are asking me how to get on a budget because they can't seem to ever actually make it happen. They're typically struggling financially, and there's usually some animosity toward each other over money. And on any given day, it sounds like this may be the case here. It's important that you guys decide what's important with your finances, which is why it is so hugely important in a marriage that you have a budget so that you could communicate to each other what's important before you spend the money. The budget topic comes up quite a bit, and as we work through this, I want to share with you up front that by not taking a few minutes to put together a budget, you're putting way too much stress on your marriage. And again, I am answering your question. Stay with me. Even if you're blessed with a few who make a boatload of money, and you still need a budget for all mainly the same reasons. If you make a ton of money, you may not have financial issues, but the rest of this is true, and that you're probably spending money in places you really shouldn't or wouldn't if you were on top of your finances. The reason I've seen why people don't want to really get on a budget is for two reasons. One is they don't want to find out how bad a shape they're really in. It's embarrassing. It's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and accept the fact that you've been stupid way too long with your money. It's depressing. And if you do the math and look back at where you would be now if you had actually been on a budget for the last 10 years, that's a terrible number to have to look at. And number two, people don't want the accountability because this means they will have to be disciplined and can't continue to do as they've done and that got them in this shape. And it's like this. It's like more fun gaining weight than losing it. It's a lot more fun spending money any way you want rather than having to watch your pennies. So I've worked with several people who generally can't seem to wrap their minds around a budget and how it works. I'm going to help with that today. Real quick. It's really easy. First, what's a budget? It's putting a name on every dollar you make. It's you decide where your money's going to go before it's deposited in your account. If you don't like your budget, it's your fault because you're the one creating it. If you don't like it, change it. In creating a budget, you need these 5 principles to be where you draw a line in the sand and you won't cross. This isn't everything about a budget, but you can't cross the line on these five. Number one, you will not spend more than you make. Easy. Number two, you will increase your savings. Number three, you will decrease your debt. For number four, both of you need to be part of the budget process, since that is not one spouse cramming it down the throat of the other. That's not how it works. And number five, once both of you agree it's in the budget, you don't have to ask the other spouse to spend money. If it's in the budget, you've already agreed to it, that this is how we're going to spend our money. So anything in your budget that goes against those five things should not be in your budget. Some people find out that they can do this, and some find out that it's really hard and they're going to have to get a part-time job to make it all work. So I helped one family with their budget, and they didn't like what they saw, so he did get a part-time job to close the gap, and now they're debt-free, loving life. I also want to make it simple. So if it's complicated, you won't stick with it. I had someone who worked their budget for a long time and made it super complicated that there's no way they're going to stick to their budget. This is all it needs to have. Your income that is deposited in your account at the top, your expenses listed, and make sure that after all your expenses are subtracted from your income, it should equal zero. The reason it should always equal zero is because my definition of a budget is putting your name on every dollar before you make the money and before you spend it. And that means that your savings is a line item on your budget too, and your emergency funds on your line item as well on your budget, and a savings for vacation is on there as well. All that, so income, everything you're saving for, everything you're doing, everything you're spending, and the bottom line should be zero. And if you're on a commission type job, so your income varies, then you just use average for income, and you don't use this as an excuse not to have a budget. A lot of people have varying incomes. And again, on the budget, decide up front where the money will go. And then when you get ready to buy a house or a car, it either fits in the budget or it doesn't. Either the car fits or it doesn't. And you can't buy the car because you have already decided as a couple how you're going to spend the money on a car. It's easy. Once you decide on a budget, there's nothing else to argue about because you've already decided. To answer this question, I said there were two things, with the first being the budget, and secondly, there may be something hidden in the weeds with this question around the topic of security. Most women who are married are all about security. They want to know everything's going to be okay. They want to know that you'll be okay financially. It could be that your wife grew up in a family where this wasn't the case, and she sees your willingness to buy expensive stuff. It probably triggers some memories or anxieties, knowing that one day you might wish you had the money over the stuff. That one day is what we call a rainy day. Many people don't believe you'll have a rainy day, but if you live long enough, you'll find that everyone has a rainy day. You may be freaking her out with your appetite for luxury stuff. For others, for some others, if the husband is a job hopper or he's always job hopping and always trying to start one business after another or get rich, chances are you two are stressing out your wife for these same reasons. For this particular question, the good news is that you can talk through this when you put together your budget and agree on a budget. And she can see through the budget that it's going to be okay. I urge you not to shy away from this topic and give her the peace she needs and deserves. Okay, where did the time go? I love talking about the finances, so keep those questions coming. And before I go, I want to share you, go to the 17laws.com and check out the Marriage Commitment Challenge coin. Check out where you can also buy the 17 Laws of Marriage, 17 Laws of Parenting book. Be sure to sign up for my blog. And until then, remember, what I'm sharing with you isn't perfect, but I think we do a pretty good job of helping families. I'll see you on the next show.